founders make when they want to start up their non-profit organization is asking questions like, how do I start up my non-profit organization? Why is that a mistake? Because that's not even the right question to ask when you want to start up your non-profit organization. The question should be, how do I start up a successful and sustainable non-profit organization? Like a wise man would say, the questions you ask will determine how far you go. So when you ask yourself questions like, how do I start up a non-profit organization? Answers like, incorporating, filing for 501(c)(3) are the answers that are going to pop up. But those are just steps in the process. But when you ask yourself, how do I start up a successful and sustainable nonprofit organization? Then you begin to rewire your mind, because your mind begins to think about the real ways to start up an organization in the right way, the real structure that can ensure you run a successful and sustainable nonprofit organization. So now that we know the right question is, how do I start up a successful and sustainable nonprofit organization? Let's jump into how you can do that. But before I go in, let me give you a bit of my story. I started my nonprofit almost 9, 10 years ago as a young, inexperienced founder. In all reality, I was passionate. I was zealous. I wanted to create impact. I wanted to make a difference, right? The mission of my nonprofit then was to empower young professionals with the tools, the knowledge, the experience they need to successfully impact their immediate community. I saw that we had lots of professionals, young people who knew a lot, who had lots of skills, but that was not translating into impacting the community they all lived in. So we needed to bridge that gap, and that was how my first nonprofit came to life. And in all reality, we did some good work because I self-funded. We had to, we executed projects. We're taking young people to different, events, programs. You could name it. We were doing lots of work. But the truth was, I was inexperienced. I didn't really understand the basics, the concept to ensure the success and sustainability of my nonprofit organization. And because of that, I made lots of mistakes. I'll tell you this. Because at the time, I only thought about just starting my nonprofit. I never even thought about sustainability. I didn't even think about how to, structure and get the organization up and, running the right way. I just wanted to create impact. I just wanted to execute programs. I just wanted to carry these young people along. And it worked for a time. But the truth was, reality caught up with me, because you can't continue like that and be successful. If you have to be successful, you need to know how to build a successful and sustainable nonprofit organization. And that was what led me into research. It led me into connecting with other professionals. I needed to understand what I was doing wrong, what I needed to do right, and how to scale this vision to a higher level. And indeed, I learned. I learned so much from professionals like Brown Leon and these different professionals across the nonprofit space. I read books. I was studying and also going out there to execute while also studying. And that really grew my skill. It grew my experience. I learned how to do it the right way, and that transformed our organization. Our one small organization grew into a big organization with over 1,000 members across the world, and that was really a turning point for me. I started raising money. We started creating bigger impact, and this really got me thinking. There's so many founders out there who are actually still in that position I was many years ago. And that led me to start helping as many people as possible. I wanted people to learn this process so that they can also execute successfully. And I was able to help as many people as possible, because over the course of the next 3 years, I was basically volunteering, supporting as many founders from across the United States, from across the world, showing them how to start up their nonprofit the right way, how to raise money, how to find quality board members, how to get the support they need to successfully create the impact they've been called to. And that was a huge game changer for many, until I finally transited into full-time consulting and coaching, where I've been helping many founders get it right. And this is why I'm here today, because I know not everyone can come into my coaching, not everyone can acquire my consulting service, but I know if I come out here today and I show you the process, I show you how to actually take each step of the process, it's going to make a lot of difference in your non-profit journey. It's going to make a lot of difference in your impact as you go about creating impact and transforming the lives of the people you've been called to serve. So this is it. How then do you start up a successful and sustainable non-profit organization? Well, there are 6 clear steps for you to start up a successful and sustainable non-profit organization. It starts with research. You need to be able to research to make informed decisions before going into the process. The second step is finding quality board members, people who are going to support you, people who are going to own the vision as much as yourself. The third step of the process is strategic planning. People who plan together execute together. So your new board members, if you want them to execute with you, it means you're going to have to, plan with them. Next, you need to then go out to go incorporate your organization once you're done planning with them. You have to register, incorporate within the states, file for your 501c3, apply for your EIN. And once that is done, you can go on to brand the organization, develop your website, your social media handles, your marketing materials, fundraising materials. You have to brand these and make them ready. And then of course you get to the point of execution where you're executing your programs, you're trying to raise money, or you're building your organization. So these are the 6 steps to start up a non-profit organization. Let's start from the very beginning. Research. Why do you need to research? You need to research because you don't just want to jump into the non-profit world. It's a very depth, it has so much depth that you need to understand what you're doing before you go in. And how do you research? You need to run a community needs assessment. You also need to run what we call business planning. These two are going to help you cover for research. For community needs assessment, you need to understand that first, your impact is needed. This is a felt need the community is willing to band around to create a solution to. 2, you need to understand the feasibility and the sustainability of your impact. If your impact is not feasible, if your impact is not sustainable, you're most likely going to make mistakes, right? 3, you need to understand the people, the resources you need to make this happen. 4, you need to understand the time and the commitment necessary to make this vision happen. And this is where many founders get it wrong. They think it's all about just going in or building an organization they can run from the side. But there are organizations that are going to need effort. They are going to need your attention for them to work. And you need to decide from the very beginning. So this is what research does for you. It helps you understand your impact. It helps you, put together a successful business plan that can help you find board members. So this leads us to the next step, finding quality board members. One mistake most founders make when they get to this step is, bringing in family and friends. It's good sometimes when you bring in this family and friends as placeholders, or if this family and friends have the skills and experience to help you. But in all reality, most of the family and friends we've seen these founders bring in, and they don't have the skills, they don't even have the experience to help you in the first place. So you need to go find people who have the skills and the experience, the passion. People like you who would also want to start up a non-profit like this, but probably do not have the resources. These are the people you need to bring together because these are the people who are passionate about this impact and are willing to bring it to life. And also they have the skills and the experience to support you. But how do you find these board members? How do you find these people? Well, there are steps to help you find quality board members. It starts with you planning so that you can define the kind of board members you need, you developing the tools and the materials you need to recruit these board members, including your board application form, your board recruitment manual, your board manual, the tools and resources you need for the outreach, board recruitment outreach. And then, of course, you need to launch the outreach. Once you launch the outreach, you need to interview those you've selected. Once you've interviewed those you selected, you need to run a background check before onboarding them and then introducing them to the rest of the board and then guiding them to execute moving forward. So that's how you find quality board members. The next step of the process is strategic planning. Like I said earlier, people who plan together execute together. So if you need your board members to be able to execute with you, go all in with you, you must plan with them. And that's where strategic planning comes in. Together, you all have to define your programs. You have to define how you intend to raise money. You have to determine how you intend to promote, your organization, how you intend to create impact, all that comes in during strategic planning. Once you're done with strategic planning, you now have a budget, have a plan. You can then go on to go register your organization. You have to file for article of incorporation within your state, apply for your employee identification number before filing for your 501c3 tax exemption status. With that done, you can now go on to go brand the organization. You can now go out there to go develop your website, build your social media handles, your marketing materials, all that is necessary to successfully execute your impact, raise money, and build your organization. This is when you create those tools and resources. And then lastly, you can now go on to execute. Execution is basically where you begin to execute your programs, or where you begin to raise money, or when you begin to build your organization. But I always advise, go for raising money first, because when you're able to raise money, you can use that money to create impact sustainably. But that's only possible if you already have a proof of concept. If you are yet to have a proof of concept, you're most likely going to need to first of all create impact with your own resources, get a proof of concept that this works, right? Before going out there to raise money and then building your organization. So this is how you start up a successful and sustainable non-profit organization. There's a process to it, there's a clear roadmap to it. You can't miss it if you get it right from the very beginning. But if you jump just going out there to go register your organization and then start trying to figure it all out, you're most likely going to get into trouble. I want to see you successful. I want to see you make a difference. I made a lot of mistakes that took time, but I was able to get it right, and I want you to get it right from day one. So you have to learn the process. You have to learn what to do to get it right. I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to be talking about how to really research, right? The step-by-step process to research your impact before starting your nonprofit organization, so you get it right and get it right once and for all. It's Rooney, your trusted nonprofit partner. I want to see you successful. Until we talk again, it's bye for today.